Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us here for our first class for Introduction to Criminal Justice. So that's what this is. I was going to show something else too. Forgot about that. Okay. All right. So my name is Mr. Hancock. I'm your instructor for this class. This is a pretty fun class. I really enjoy it. Being able to speak about law enforcement, and this is a two-part class. Let me share my screen real quick so you can see what I'm actually looking at too. Share my screen. Okay. All right. So hopefully everybody can jump onto the Nearpod there. Let me put it in the chat real quick. And this will kind of go over the format of our class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the course real quick, what it looks like, how you do things. This is just done week by week. I'll go over the outline of the class and all that stuff. So today we're going to be talking about basically about the history of law enforcement. Just so you know, all lessons are recorded, just so anybody that can't make it can get here. And as we are in live class, that's what I want you to do. Make sure you're following along with the Nearpod lesson. Be able to use the chat tool respectfully and appropriately. Some of the topics we go over and stuff like that are, I don't know, politically charged a little bit, especially in today's climate regarding law enforcement and that kind of stuff. So just be respectful and appropriate. Also respond to questions and instructions the first time as we go through this stuff. So once again, my name is Mr. Hancock. This is me. I got 3 little kids. They run around. Hopefully, my little one that's here at home, he doesn't run in here all the time. You may see him, I guess, if he sneaks by his mom. Anyways, they like messing around. You can see these 2 boys climbing a tree, probably breaking some bones some point in time, causing me grief. Okay, so what we're gonna do here. Oh, you're all right, Ethan. Just make sure you jump onto the Nearpod as we get started. Okay, so the lesson objective today is given a quiz in the OLS. I'll show you how to go there and stuff like that. You will accurately answer multiple choice questions about the role of and the history of law enforcement throughout time with 80% accuracy. Okay. So let me jump to the course real quick so you can see it. I like utilizing the class announcements. I'm assuming you guys don't do your email very well. So I post the recorded lesson to the announcement every time, and I'll also post it to the content area. So as you go to the content area, you're going to see this. You have this start here thing. This is going to give you a little video in regards to the law enforcement pathway. Everybody is in this pathway, and it's 2 blocks. Okay. So this block is Introduction to Criminal Justice. And once you pass this one, because come on, you guys, you will. You're going to pass this. You'll like it. If you pass this class, you're going to take criminal law with me next block as well. So you can get your pathway set. As you go to plan, live classes are every Thursday, 2:15. What I do is I have the assignment due like Tuesday after. So basically the exit ticket for here, or whatever you want to call it, assignment, is not due until the 25th, Tuesday. And so that's when I'll start putting in zeros. I'll probably put those in Wednesday, and then you'll have class again on Thursday. As we go through here, we have all these classes. We will have like a recorded class this week. The 17th, 18th, and 21st we're off for, I don't know, some reason, but glad we have it off, right? And then the last day of the block is the 17th that you need to have everything in by. As you can see, there's a good 2 weeks from our last class till the end of the block, or probably about a week and a half to get everything done if you get behind. But if you stay on track, that won't be a problem. Okay. As we go in here, this is going to be this week's lesson. I'll post the video recording, the Nearpod link for those that are on the aren't here today. And then you just need to take this Unit 1 quiz. Once you click that Unit 1 quiz, looks like you have 6 questions that you need to answer. They're automatically graded, and they post right to your grade book. So that's what this week will entail. So without further ado, we're going to get rolling to the lesson. We'll get as much done as we can. So let's talk about police activity. So, okay, yeah, if you can't get in or something like that or get kicked off, there will be the recording that's posted there. So no worries. All right, so police activity. You have so much different police activity that you can think of. There's patrol officers, traffic enforcement, canine, SWAT, gang units, undercover, crime prevention, corrections, dispatch, forensic, school resource officers. There's so many different areas that law enforcement covers, right? You have FBI, you have, CIA, you got all kinds of things like that that you can look at going into. So it's a very broad field, which is good because not everybody likes, just patrol, like pulling people over and giving tickets. Hollywood has glamorized policing in America. You have things like CSI, you have Reno 9/11. So sometimes some funny shows in regards to sometimes some serious ones. How many of you guys watch some sort of show that deals with law enforcement? Me, okay. I'm sure there's probably something. Okay, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that's pretty funny. Yeah, so it's a problem. Yeah, I mean, there's so much kind of things out there, and sometimes they glamorize it. And so reality is a lot different than Hollywood, and hopefully you guys understand that as we go through it. Okay, so we're going to watch this video real quick.
All right, we've been seeing images of police officers from all over the country for 9 days now responding to these demonstrations and these protests nationwide. But did you know there was a time when we as a country, America, did not have an organized police force anywhere in the entire country? So let's go beyond the headline this morning and take a look at the history of the police force in America.
The law enforcement system we have today wasn't shaped until the mid-1950s. Back in colonial times, there were no police officers. Communities would simply hire someone to act as night watch. It wasn't very effective. Most of the time, the watchman would sleep through his shift or get drunk. The first time we saw an organized law enforcement system was just before the Civil War. Cities set up what they called a slave patrol, a group to prevent slave revolts and hunt down runaway slaves. After the war, these groups switched more to enforcing segregation. And as time went on, police forces focused mostly on protecting businesses in big cities from union organizers and crime rings. The problem? Police forces were controlled by local politicians. In 1929, President Hoover created the Wickersham Commission to look at how effective law enforcement was nationwide. The results of that commission led to the creation of independent police precincts that were separate from political parties and are more similar to what we have today.
All right, over the last year, CBS News has surveyed more than 150 police departments across the country. At least 69% of departments that were surveyed said they do have racial bias training, including the Minneapolis Police Department. They said they've been teaching bias training since 2015 and de-escalation training since before 2005.
All right, so I showed that for a couple reasons. One is you kind of got a brief history a little bit of what's here. Do you want to improve? Okay. It shows kind of some current things that are going on today. Everybody has like a different, I guess, learning history or basically past with law enforcement. It could be good or bad. But the history of law enforcement, particularly in the United States, has changed over time and throughout history. So on the Nearpod here, I want you to put, what has been your interaction with law enforcement? Or what interaction have you had with law enforcement? Like, I've had some good and bad. Bad, my speeding tickets. All right. Okay, you got pulled over for speeding. Yep, bad ones. But the last two kept me thinking I was going to be kidnapped. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there is some kind of trauma, right? A little bit with it. But there are some good things. Like I have some really good ones. CSP and getting pulled over. Okay, none. My dad was a cop. All right. So hopefully that was a little bit of good experience. Your mom got pulled over once. And two of your family members are cops. Okay. I think you have a little bit more appreciation when you have a family member that is part of the police officer thing. Okay. Not the greatest, but effective. Okay. Talk to police, nice people. Okay. Some bad experiences. They don't do much to help victims of abuse. Okay. Yeah. So some strong opinions. I hear you. Okay. Taken to the ER. Okay. So that maybe is some help, right? If you've ever been in a car accident and been hurt, it's always nice to kind of hear those sirens coming, you know? Yeah. Okay. Very good. No, the Nearpod's not an exit ticket. Okay. So looks like we have all different experiences here. So we all come from different backgrounds and see everything at a different point of view. But there's some things that are interesting as we talk about law enforcement. First one, justice. Okay. What is right and fair? Okay. There's a standard of fairness where it is judged whether each person is rewarded what he or she is due. But the problem is who determines what's right and fair? Okay. Because we all have different ideas and different levels of what is right and fair. Okay. Which comes first, law or moralities? As people grow, they develop feelings that certain actions are right or wrong. Okay. And this all depends on where you live too. Okay. So there's cultural aspect of this as well. These feelings are created by parents, schools, religion, country, family, and others. These ideas about duties and ethics will refer to as morality, although many refer to these as feelings as a conscience. Okay. So as we're kind of looking at kind of what's moral and what's kind of stuff like that, I think we all feel that there's some things that are just inherently wrong. Like if somebody willfully or purposely kills another person, I think we can always all agree that that's wrong, right? So there has to be something that kind of protects from that kind of stuff. When enough people with political power within the government agree that the action should be labeled right or wrong, and that everyone should be made to follow their decisions and laws is then created. So basically, you have representatives that represent you that are determining what the law should and should not be. Okay, so here's a question for you. We have so many laws out there. Is it feasible to enforce all laws all the time? Is it feasible? No. Okay, so I'm getting right now a lot of no's. Okay, I said some might apply instead of others in the situation. Okay. So I like this comment right here. That's very good. Maybe we'll put a little heart by it. I guess I can do that. Yeah, under certain situations. No. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Like in certain places, they may emphasize certain laws at certain times. For example, a lot of police officers are not going to enforce jaywalking, right? Even though that's a law, and you so-called shouldn't do it. Okay. So we kind of think of, why aren't they enforced? Okay. There's a lack of public consensus that the law should be enforced. Okay. Things have developed over time, right? Where it's like, that's not really a big deal, right? Not everybody agrees with that. So we're just not going to enforce it. There's also maybe widespread violation. So everybody's doing it. So how are you going to ticket or do something for everybody? Also limited resources. We're seeing this a lot with the labor market right now, as well as people just going out of law enforcement, that they're not going to be there because of the shortages, and you can only do so much. So you have to basically do what you think is best. Okay. The other one's low priorities. The priorities are lower as you're kind of putting them in a hierarchy. Okay. So here's some laws that are not widely enforced. Okay. Polygamy, jaywalking, curfew, some traffic laws, speeding, improper turns, vehicle conditions, truancy. Okay. All right. Okay, so here's a question for you. Who gets to decide whether or not a law is enforced? Try to pop over to the student view. This is what show. Judges, prosecutors, or the police. Okay. All right, let's see what people are putting. Okay. Share that with you guys. Okay, the correct answer is wait, what was the question again? I'm pretty sure it's the police. Okay. 34% of you got it right. The police are the ones that are able to get I don't know why this is not showing. I don't want to show student names. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the history of law enforcement. Okay. The history of law enforcement, real quick. The first kind of code that is ever sent up is called the Hammurabi Code. This was written back in Babylon, and basically it was just a set of written laws, the first laws that we ever know of to be written down. Then the police started from the Greek word polis, which means city or state. The history of law enforcement, you kind of see that Assyrian Empire, they're the ones that set up a court system. The Egyptians had a marine kind of corps or customs police. The Persian Empire, they had police to protect roads and postal systems. The Roman Empire, they're the ones that were the first ones to have like a non-military police. Everything before that was basically military. These were also known as vigils. Their weapons were wooden clubs and short swords. And so they would be able to patrol around. They were not military, though, first time. England started many of the traditions that we have in America today. The law enforcement of citizens. So Sir Robert Peel was a big influence of this. Judge Henry Field started the Bow Street Runners. The Magna Carta, which was the precursor, basically, to the Declaration of Independence. And we started getting laws and actually rights that they felt that the common people were able to have. So in 1215, the Magna Carta was signed, reduced the king's power. Law enforcement again became a community-based thing, and there was a watch system and ward system put in place. This watch and ward system, there was a patrol that functioned in the community. How it was broken down is any male between the ages of 15 and 60 would have basically watch, right? There was a day watch patrol, which is called a ward, and a night watch patrol, which was called a watch. And this is by Robert Peel. So policing in America. So it's kind of interesting. We haven't changed too much ever since the first people that came over to the Americas. They have a distrust for central authority, and so they feel that they need elected law enforcement officials, and so they created kind of a watch system back in the 1700s. Policing in America has had a lot of reform over the times. You have more formal training that started to happen. There was also police would be called in for like mobs and riots that were to happen, such as like what was depicted on the movie Gangs of New York. It's interesting. The first state agency was the Texas Rangers in 1835. You also had the U.S. Marshals. That was the first federal one, created in 1789. And the Bureau of Investigation was created in 1870, which its name changed in 1935 to the FBI. Policing in America continues. There is 3 basic functions of law enforcement: the combating of criminal violations, the enforcing of law, and providing miscellaneous services like jails, ambulances, other things like that. As of January 1st, 2008, Utah had approximately almost 5,000 officers. And the police department, here are some things, is mostly a male-dominated field. But the more females we can get, I think that would be great. Okay, hold on. I got a question here. Okay, no worries. All right, so a couple things you want to be aware of. So what gives us certain rights and we're not controlled, and what basically law enforcement needs to follow is they have to give you certain rights through what's called the Bill of Rights. And there's all different amendments that are kind of passed. The first 10 are it's called the Bill of Rights, and we will be going through some of those. That kind of gives you. We're going to be going through some of those amendments just because it gives you the rights, and the police have to follow that. Okay, so here are some ones that need to be known. Right, Amendment 1, and this is what police kind of do. Okay, they have to basically. There's no law for, so you have the right to religion, the right to exercise free speech, to be able to peaceably assemble and protest, and also petition the government to redress grievances. Okay. Amendment number 2, a big one, is the right to bear arms. Okay. That's heavily debated even in the United States today. What should they be able to bear? Should we be able to have assault rifles, that kind of stuff? That is something that is always debated. This one's important. The 4th Amendment is against unreasonable search and seizure. Okay. So a police officer has to have probable cause. And if they don't have probable cause, so for example, if they go to a car, right, they pull over a car and they want to search that car, they have to have probable cause in order to search that car, or everything that they have won't hold up in a court of law. Okay. And we have the right of unreasonable search and seizure. So police officers can't have the authority to be able to do stuff over a regular person. And a lot of times they have to get warrants in order to search things. Yeah, probable cause or consent. If you give them consent to search, they can, right? They'll usually be recorded. Okay. Number 5, there's some other things like you can't be charged for the same exact crime twice. So that's called double jeopardy. You can't be that. Also, you can't be a witness against yourself. Or basically you can't have like a spouse has spousal protection where they do not have to be a witness against you in a crime. And then also they cannot deprive you of your life, liberty, and or property without due process of the law. So they have to go through the legal process and be able to do things right. So you have the right to a speedy trial, to be informed of who your accuser is, the nature and the cause of the accuser, to be able to confront witnesses that are against you, and have the assistance of counsel, meaning that you get to have an attorney available to you. Excessive bail, okay, shall not be required. So they can't like hold you in jail without that, nor can you have cruel or unusual punishment imposed against you. Okay. And so the Supreme Court and other things have ruled on some of these things of what cruel and unusual punishment means. Okay, so that's the very end of it. So what you need to do, I will give you a link that will be posted in here to the Nearpod link, but your assignment this week that is due, if I go back here, the 25th, which is Tuesday, is to take this quiz. All my quizzes you can take as many times as you would like, okay? And most of it's in the Nearpod. Here's some other information that you can find on there. So if you click on here, this will give you another place to find those questions and make them available to you, okay? I know I kind of went through that fairly quickly. I actually have a school meeting I got to jump on in a second, but I will be after for a little bit to answer any questions that you guys might have. But that is the assignment for this week. And if you don't have any questions, you can go. And just make sure you get that done by Tuesday, and we will see you next week. So thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it. I'm going to stop the recording, but